Hey guys, welcome to the first part of my series on building a chat application using Flask and Socket.io. Since this is the first part, we are just gonna set up our project and build a very basic version of our chat application. In the upcoming videos, we'll be doing some cool enhancements on our chat application so that it looks and works better. So without any delay, let's get started. Okay, so let me start by giving you a brief overview of different libraries that we are going to use in this video. So the first thing that we would require is socket.io. So socket.io is actually a transport protocol which enables real-time bidirectional event-based communication. So let us break it down. The first thing is real time. So by real time, it simply means that there will be minimum latency, no lag, there will be super fast communication. Then bidirectional means that even if you have a server and client concept, the server can talk to the client and the client can talk back to the server. Then we have the event based communication. So in order to communicate, the client and the server will use something called events which will be triggered, and those event triggers will cause the communication between the clients and the server. So yeah, so this is what socket.io is about, and the important thing is the official implementation of the client and server components for socket.io have been written in JavaScript, and that library itself is called socket.io. And yeah, so that is all about it. So let's move on to the next thing, which is Flask. So we are going to use Flask for creating our web server. So Flask is actually a micro web framework written in Python, and it is quite minimal in the sense that it doesn't provide you all the functionalities straight away. For example, it will not provide you the login or the storage functionality. You will have to use some other third-party libraries to in order to do that. Then comes Flask Socket.io. So Flask Socket.io is actually a package which provides you the Socket.io integration for Flask applications. It is actually dependent upon Python Socket.io, which provides a Python implementation of Socket.io client and servers. So this is gonna be super useful here. So Flask Socket.io actually uses some asynchronous services, and it can use either eventlet or it can use G-event. So these are two asynchronous networking libraries written in Python, and in this video we are going to be using eventlet only because it is the best performant option here. So yeah, so this is all that we need in order to create a very basic chat application. So let us check out the flow of events that we're gonna have for the communication in our chat application. Okay, so the first thing is that whenever a person will open the chat application in the browser, the first thing or the first event that should get triggered is something called join room. So what this join room will do is that it will take the client's username and the room that they want to join. So this event will be triggered and received by the server, and then the server will create a join room announcement event which will tell all other clients in the same room that a new person has joined. So this is the first kind of activity that we are gonna have. The second thing is, let's say a particular user wants to send a message in the room. So for that, they will create a send message event in which they will provide the message that they want to send to all other people in the same room. So that will be received by the server, and then the server will create a receive message event which will be sent to all the clients in that room. And finally, let's say you close your chat application window, then what will happen is that a leave room event should get triggered, and then all the clients should be informed that this person has left the room. So these are all the events that we are gonna manage in this particular video while we make a very basic chat application. So now, without any further ado, let us get into the implementation part. For this series, I'm going to be using PyCharm for creating a chat application project. So let us see how to use it. So I'm just going to create a new project, and I'm going to select Flask so that I can create a Flask application. And let me call my application as Flask chat app. So this is gonna be the name of my project actually, and the project interpreter that we're gonna use is this one, and it will actually create a new environment in my project folder. And yeah, more settings, nothing great. So let us create. So would you like to open the project? Let me open it in the current window only. So okay. So now my project window is gonna open here in PyCharm. It is creating the virtual environment for me, right? So let's see what happens next. Okay, so it is installing Flask because I wanted to create a Flask application, right? And let's see what next. Okay, fine. So it has provided me a kind of a template as well. That's cool. So let me open the terminal and let us run python 3 app.py. Okay, so yeah, so it has started the application for me. So let us see what happened actually. So when I created a Flask project through PyCharm, it actually created an app.py file for me already, which has this content where we have just imported the Flask class from the Flask library, and then we have created an app object, Flask app object, and here we are running that app object, and this is a particular route which is just a slash. If the user goes to this particular route, then they will get hello world as the output. So yeah, so this is all about it. Then we have an empty templates folder and an empty static folder. So yeah, so this is all. So let us just check out if everything is working correctly in our application or not. Yeah, so we are getting hello world, so everything seems to be working fine. So now the first thing that I'm gonna do here is that um, let me just create the first page. So let me visualize how is my application is going to look like. I am actually going to need two pages. One page where I will ask the user for their username and the room that they want to enter, and another page which will be the main page where the users can chat with each other. So let me start by writing my main home page where I'm going to ask for the username. So let me call it home, and here I'm going to return a particular template. So let me create a new template in the templates folder. So new HTML file, let me call it index.html. Okay, so it has created a simple template for me already. So let me call it my chat app. Okay, so what is gonna happen here is that we are gonna have a little header, my chat app, and then we are gonna have a form. So this form will be entered by the user so that I can get their information. So form is gonna be something like this, that we are gonna have a label where I will be asked for the username. So enter your username, and for that particular label I'm gonna have an input whose type will be text, and the name of that input which will be referenced in my Flask application, that is gonna be username. Yeah, so that's it. Let me just copy this so that I can get the room ID as well from the user. So enter room ID, and then we take it as room parameter name. So that's it. And finally we are gonna create a button, a submit button type equal to submit, and it is gonna be submit. Fine, so this is my simple template. And now how to render this template? For that I'm gonna need the render template function. So here I'm gonna do render template, in which I will pass the name of my template, which is index.html. Let me enlarge it a bit. So yeah, so, and one more thing that I'm going to do just now is that I'm just going to do app.run debug equal to true, so that uh, if I do any change in my current application, it reloads in the terminal here. Let me stop it again. Let me start here and let's check out the application. Okay, so look at that, we are getting these template. So here the user will enter a username and the room ID, and that's it. So let me enter the username as Nikhil, and the room ID as 1 1. Okay, so let me submit it. So look at that. When I do that, what happens is that we get it as something like this, because the form is actually creating a get request with these parameters. Username is this and room is this. So whenever I submit the form, this happens, right? So now what do I want with this data that I am generating here? When I get this data of username and room, I want it to be available into my chat application, right? So for that, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create another route in which it is /chat and def chat, and here we are gonna be taking the username. It is going to be okay, so now I have to create a request object for Flask. So Flask request object contains all the context whenever you send a request to a particular route. So request dot args. So request dot args is a kind of a dictionary which contains all the URL parameters. So request dot args dot get username. So we need the username and also we need room. So it is request dot args dot get room. So if room and username both are provided in the URL parameters, then it means that it is a correct request. So we will do something. What are we gonna do here is we're gonna render a template. Let's call that template as chat.html for now. So we will create this template in a bit, and otherwise we will redirect the user. So we will redirect. Okay, so let me import the redirect function from the Flask library. So redirect, in which I have to pass the URL, right? So what is the URL? So let me just be a bit general here. So I'm going to use the URL for function of Flask. So what will happen is I'm asking the URL for home view. So for this home view, I'm asking for the URL, which is actually a slash. So what is happening is that I didn't want to put a slash here, so I could have done this as well. So this will also work, but this is much preferred because here you are quite clear that you want to do something in this context only, right? So yeah, so now let me create chat.html. So in the templates folder, we're going to create a new HTML file which is going to be called chat.html. So again, it is my chat app, the title, and here. Okay, so now what are we going to do here? We are going to render a template called chat.html, and also we are going to pass some context, that what is the username and what is the room. So we're going to pass these things, so they will be available as they will be available in the HTML template now. Okay, so now let me just write it. Welcome to chat room, and then we will put the room name here, or the room ID, anything you can say. So welcome to chat room, and now what is gonna happen here? So in our chat room, we are gonna show some messages to the user, and finally there will be an option for the user to enter new messages, right? So how are we gonna do that? So first of all, let me create an empty div, because initially there will be no messages there. So let me call it messages, and it is empty for now. So initially there are no messages in the div called messages, and also I'm going to create a form where I will ask the user to enter their message. So it is going to be like input, and type is going to be text, and placeholder is going to be enter your message here, right? And finally we are gonna have a button whose type will be submit, and we will write send there. So yeah, so this is how this should look like my chat application page. So let us check out our chat application page now. So we have saved everything. So let us see. So look at that, my application got restarted because my application codes actually changed. So this is the benefit of using debug equal to true here. Okay, so let us check it out. Okay, so this is the main. Okay, so this is the main page. So let me enter the username Nikhil and the room ID is 1. And okay, so the one thing that I forgot to change was, now in the form I have to tell which URL do I want to go to. So now I have to go to the URL /chat. I have to go to this route now, right? So in the form I will say the action is /chat. That's it. So this should work. So let us try it out. So let me just put my name and 1, submit, and look at that, welcome to chat room 1, and it is saying enter your message here, right? So now I can enter some messages, press send, and then we can see some messages here, and see if other person is also joining, they should also be able to see my messages. So now all that is left is the integration of socket.io in our current application so that communication can happen. Okay, so let us start by doing the socket.io integration on the server side first. So for the server side, first of all, let me put all the requirements that I'm going to need. So I'm just going to create a file called requirements.txt. Let me see if the spelling is correct. Yeah, so requirements.txt is the file that I'm going to need, and these are all the dependencies that I will need: Flask, socket.io, and eventlet. And now I'm just gonna create a socket.io object, a socket.io app here. So from flask underscore socket.io import socket.io. So what we'll do is that we will create a socket.io app object which will be defined like socket.io app. So it is actually encapsulating the Flask app object. So in a way, your WebSockets will also be running for your given web application. So basically a new server will be running where it is doing the Flask side of work as well as it is accepting the WebSockets. So socket.io is here, and then instead of running the app, we will run socket.io, where we'll tell it that we have to run app as well. So yeah, so this is it. So let me just close and let me just rerun my application and see if everything works fine. Still, if it still works fine or not. So it is working fine, so that's good. So now let's move to the next thing, which is the client side integration of socket.io. So for that, I will be just using the link of this CDN link of socket.io JS code. So let me just copy it and then put it in my chat.html. So in chat.html, this is what we need, and then what we do is that we will take the script where we will just create a socket connection. So it is io.connect. So basically I'm creating a socket object in a way. So io.connect the location where you want to connect. So this is the server address. So it is 127.0.0.1:5000. So this is where we want to connect. So yeah, so this is fine. So it will connect. So let me just reload my page to see if it works or not. And let us check the console as well at the same time. So yeah, it is working fine. It seems to be working fine. So now what I will do now is that so socket.io actually has a few events which are provided by default. For example, connect, disconnect, and there are a few more. So what I'm going to do is, on the triggering of the connect event, I'm going to do something. So this event will be triggered by default by itself internally. So when that happens, I want to do something. What do I want to do? I will tell in the form of this function which states that I want to, let's say, emit a new event when this happens, and I will call that event as join room. So I will create a join room event now, in which I will pass some metadata. So what will be that data? The data will be that the username is this, and we have the room ID. So we have got this. So in this way, I am emitting a join room event. So how do I handle it? So in order to handle it, what you will have to do is that you will have to create something like a Flask app view, but it is a bit different. So you will have to use socket.io decorator, in which on a particular event, let's say join room, you want to do something. So let me call it handle join room event. So this is a function that will take place here, and I will get the data. So I will get the data and I have to do something with that data now, right? So what can I do with that data is that I can simply print. So let me just create a log here, app.logger.info. So the benefit of using app.logger.info in place of a simple print is that it will also print the date here as well, the time at which that log was put, and also you can specify if you want to save your logs in a particular file as well. So for now, let's do it something like this. Someone has joined the room this. So format it with my data, in which I will pass username and room. That's it. So now let us try to reload our web page and see. Okay, so the connection, okay, the connection is again started. So I reloaded the page, and look at that. What we are getting is Nikhil has joined the room 1. So we are getting the logs now, which means that the socket is triggering the events fine, and we are able to handle that event as well. Now the thing is that socket.io itself already has a concept of rooms, where it keeps a context and the information about which all sockets are present in which all rooms. So for example, let's say my current socket should be in the room 1, but socket.io doesn't know that. That is only present in the form of some data that I have with me right now. So what I need to tell socket.io is that this particular socket ID has association with this particular room, and how it will benefit me is that when I say socket.io that emit this message, then it will emit the message in all the clients by default. But if I tell it that I have to emit this message only to this room, then it will find out which all sockets are a part of that room, and it will send that to them. So what I'm going to do is, from Flask socket.io, I'm importing join room function, and here I will uh, make my client join that room by doing data, by passing the room ID to the join room function. Okay, so this join room function is already present in the Flask socket.io library. It will just join a room. It will make your socket ID, that particular client, join the room. So that is done. And what else do we need to do? The one thing that is remaining is another event to be triggered, which will send a announcement. It will send an announcement to all the other clients that someone has joined the room, right? So socket.io dot, so what do we do here is that we will emit an event. Let me call it join room announcement, in which I will now pass some data. So let me just pass the data that I have right now as well. So this is the data, and let us see how do we handle it here now. So socket dot on join room announcement. So think of it like that. For this client, this join room announcement is coming due to some other client because they have joined the room recently. So join room announcement. So when this happens, we want to run this function. What it will do is that, let me do it like, for now, let us make it an alert. Let's say someone joined the room, right? So let me keep it like, okay, so wait, so this function will actually get the data, right? So let me just alert and put that data there, but I think that data will not be presented well, so let me keep it as a console.log only. Okay, so console.log data, that is all we are going to do here for now. Okay, so let us check it out. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna copy this thing. I'm gonna move to another page, and so it's now time that we use two clients here. So enter a username, let me name it as Rahul, let's say, and the room ID should be 1 because I want to connect with that person only. So room is 1. Okay, so look at that here in Nikhil's in the chat window, which Nikhil can see, he can see that the username is Rahul and the room is 1, which means that join room announcement happened actually, right? And if I reload this page again, then in Rahul's window we can see again that Nikhil joined, right? So yeah, so this is working fine. So but in order to give it a more better view, let me put it like uh, let us do something like um, let us put it like a message in the messages div. Okay, so how to do that? In order to do that, all you need to do is create a new node. New node can be created by document dot uh, create element, create node. So let me just create an element whose name is going to be div. Okay, so we are going to create a div element, and then we will put some HTML to it. Okay, so that inner HTML is going to be something like someone has joined the room. Okay, so someone has joined the room, and in JS you can format it like this: who has joined the room, data dot username. Okay, so this is how you create the inner HTML, and now you will get the element by ID messages, and then you will append the child, which is the new node that you just created, and that's it. That should work. So let us check it out. So now here is the chat room. Look at that, Rahul has joined the room. We got that message, right? And Nikhil has joined the room. Nikhil has joined the room. So now Rahul knows that Nikhil has joined the room, right? So in this way, we are able to tell each other that who has joined the room when. So this is working fine. Let me just do a minor modification. Let me make the username a bit bold. Okay, so now we are able to inform our users that someone has joined the room, but still even now we haven't done the main thing, which is to actually send a message from one person to another, right? So in order to do that, what I will have to do is to ensure that whenever this form is submitted, I do not actually submit the form, which is I do not create a get request to some URL and get some data or something. Instead, I will just trap that the submission of form has been done, and then I will emit a new event signifying send message. So how to do that? So first of all, let me just give an ID to my form. Let me call it message input form, and my input, let me give it an ID as well so that I can refer to it basically. So message input, that's it. And now let us start doing some job here. Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to create a message input HTML element, which is document dot get element by ID message input. Okay, and then let me do document dot get element by ID message input form dot on submit. So when the form submission happens, I will do this. That is what I'm going to tell here. So the first thing that I want to happen here, so I get E, which is the event which has happened. So the first thing that I would like to do is to prevent the default behavior of my form. The default behavior of my form is to create a GET request with the URL parameters provided to the location at which that form has to be submitted. So I do not want that. I actually want to create an event, a socket event. So I will just prevent it, and then I will just check if message input dot value dot length is something or not. So I will just check the length of my message inputs value, and if it is greater than 0, because many a times what people do is that they just keep pressing enter. So what will happen is that when a person keeps pressing send here and there is nothing in this text box, then nothing should be submitted, right? So that is what we're trying to control here. But even before that, I should also trim my message. I should remove the white spaces as well. So let message is equal to message input dot value dot trim. Okay, so in this way we have got our message, and now if message has some length, then what I will do is I will emit something. I will emit an event which is called send message. So send message will be emitted with this data, which is the username data, room data, and finally the message. That's it. So this is what we are trying to do. So, and once that is done, one more thing that I would like to do is that I would like to make my message input empty again. So message input dot value is equal to empty, and also I would like to make my message input a bit focused. So focus function, so it will bring the focus of my cursor back to that message input even if I press the send button. So yeah, so this is all that I want to happen when a user inputs something and presses the send button, or even presses enter for my form. And now let us try to handle the send message event. So how do we do that? At the rate socketio.on send message. So when this happens, then handle the send message event where we get the data which has been provided. And now let me do a few things which are similar to the last time. Like I would like to log. So someone has sent message to the room ID this, and here is the message. So here let me provide the message as well so that we can see that in the log only. So data message, and also what else I would like to do when I receive a message, I would like to emit it out to all other people in the same room. So how do I control that the message goes in only into the room ID 1 only, for example, in this case, right? So how to do that? First of all, the name of my event is receive message, and I have to pass the complete data, which is username, room, and the message, and then I can provide the room. So this is an argument of the socket.io emit function. So when I specify the room, what happens is that it will check what all socket IDs or the clients belong to that room, and it will send the event only to those socket IDs. So yeah, so this is done. So now I will have to handle the receive message. So how do I handle that? So I will have to do socket.on handle the receive message event. So what happens when I get this? I would like to run a function which gets data as input, and then we will do something. We will do almost same what we did on join room announcement. What we'll do is we will log the data, we will create a new node, and then we will do something like username, and we will put a space, and then we will just print out the message. That will be fine. So $data.message, that's it. So this should work. So yeah, so finally we have everything ready for sending and receiving the message. So let us try it out. So let me just reload this page, reload this one as well. So now Nikhil will say hi. Look at that, we get hi here, right? And let us see what happens on Rahul's page. They also get that Nikhil has said hi. So let us make Rahul say hey. So we get Rahul has said hey, right? So yeah, so in this way we are able to make our chat application work, and the message are being sent to and fro, and everything is happening in real time, which is quite cool. So yeah, so this is the power of Socket.io, and we have done it. Yeah, so the last thing that is remaining is, I think, leave room and the leave room announcement, and that is quite simple, and I leave it as an exercise for you from this first video of this series. And all the code for this particular part of this series will be available in my GitHub repository, whose link has been provided in the description below. So that's it. If you still have any doubts, you can put them in the comment section below. Keep looking for more videos that are gonna come in the upcoming days, and yeah, so that's it. Thanks for watching.